I'm Brad Bates, and I am running for mayor of Turlock this November 2018. My take tonight is on the homeless. The homeless as a term is a catchphrase. There are many reasons, life events, and personal choices that can cause someone to be on the streets without shelter. The problem has been here in Turlock for years, but lately it has gotten a lot worse and a lot more visible in our downtown parks and public places. The downtown merchants have mobilized because they are dealing with an absolute explosion of needles, feces, and garbage strewn from cans and dumpsters. Their message is becoming very clear. We can't and we won't tolerate this anymore. In the last 6 months, there have been hours and hours of meetings, and I have attended virtually all of them. What I see is a process that is not working. When you bring together a large group, you end up with what is called groupthink. And groupthink is when a desire for a consensus and an immediate solution overrides sometimes common sense and longer-term strategies. I also want to acknowledge at this point that Turlock is very fortunate in that we have some nonprofit organizations such as United Samaritans, the Turlock Gospel Mission, the We Care program, Catholic Charities, and the Salvation Army. All of these nonprofit groups have services, facilities, and dedicated staff, and they are working daily to reach out and to help. But this is a big problem, and it's going to take a new way of thinking. I want to be honest. The reason that this is now such a hot topic and it's getting a lot of attention is because there's an election in about 90 days. And while our mayor has not attended any of these meetings, he recently called an emergency meeting to propose his version of the solution. This is an important issue, but I'm somewhat confused as how all of a sudden this got emergency special meeting status. It's actually a distraction to the leadership that is now needed to bring all of our community resources forward to a workable and sustainable community-wide effort. The simple bromides that he proposed, like changing the light bulbs to LED in the park or imposing a completely unenforceable curfew in all city parks, is just not an adequate response for a long-term solution. This is what I would propose as a plan of action. There are approximately 200 in the group called Without Shelter, with that status. Individuals who have a criminal history have circumstances that define their lives in a negative way. Our police chief could convene a task force of possibly 3 to 4 people to help strategize and develop a response to the criminal element of this population. A second group would encompass those with mental illness issues and/or debilitating addiction issues. As the county's second largest city, we must demand that mental health resources at the county level are provided down here in Turlock. We can't keep shuttling the same people who have mental health episodes up to the county mental health facilities for a few hours of observation and then be sent back to Turlock. There needs to be something better than a revolving door. The third group around which we would form a task force are the people who have become homeless due to economic or life events, such as a significant medical cost or a job loss, and they are homeless without shelter due to these particular circumstances and events. Now, representatives from our service providers will make up the task force that will provide the visionary direction for this group. This is what these professionals do. Each group will become more identifiable and hopefully more manageable. The expectations for the individuals in each group will be different, and the success for each group will be defined differently. The City Council would ask for an update from each one of these groups each 6 months, and then we would look at what is working, what is not, make program adjustments, and hopefully move forward toward a successful outcome. Now, Turlock is a kind and compassionate city, but our recent efforts have not provided meaningful results. Progress on this difficult issue, the progress that this social problem demands, has to be more than continuous meetings and rhetoric. The primary purpose of local government is to ensure the safety and the well-being of its citizens. The men and the women and the children of Turlock deserve to feel safe and should not be fearful or intimidated by any population. I want to be clear. All people have rights, including the homeless, and they should be treated with compassion and dignity. But the rights of the indigent, the homeless, or the vagrant population do not supersede the rights of the Turlock taxpayer, the property owner, the Main Street business owner. It is our city for all of our residents. No group will be allowed to claim any part of it, especially our parks and public places, as theirs by creating an atmosphere of fear. That we will not tolerate. It is our responsibility as a community and as community leaders to make sure that the privilege of enjoying our public spaces is not abused. We are a city of generous, committed, and conscientious people. We will fight to keep what we have and what we have built. We have seen in other cities what happens when neglect is allowed to prevail. It will not necessarily be easy, but we can do this, and we will be a better town, as we always have been, for the effort. And that's my take.